Welcome to Construction Champions Podcast, where we are burning the house down and rebuilding it twice a week. I'm your host, Ron Nussbaum, and I am here to help you become the champion that you're meant to be. Along with our amazing guests along the way, we will provide you with the resources, the latest and greatest. You will sit down with disruptors in the construction industry. And my goal from day one has always been to change the mindset around the construction industry. No more where we let the 3% of bad apes dictate the entire reputation of. Welcome back to Construction Champions Podcast. I'm your host, Ron Nussbaum. I am the founder and CEO of BuilderComms. And what do we do here on Construction Champions? Well, I bring you experts. I bring you the people in the construction industry to help you become the champion that you were meant to be. It's been our mission from the beginning, is to facilitate these conversations and move the ball, change the mindset around the construction industry. And as always, you're not here for Ron Nussbaum. You're here for our amazing guests. And today is no different. Pam, it is fantastic to have you here with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Ron. I'm really excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, before we dive into it, why don't you take a moment and introduce yourself to all the construction champions out there listening?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Pam Duffy. I am one of the co-founders of Powerhouse Consulting Group. We are the premier consulting firm for contractors that are in the skilled trades. So what we do at Powerhouse is help contractors make the most out of their software investments. A couple of years ago, I've been in the trades for almost 20 years myself. My background is really more on the commercial side of the industry. And about 5 years ago, sort of made a switch where we recognized, myself and my business partner, Jenny, recognized that contractors were really struggling with the software that they had purchased to use for their business. And as two people that love the trades and love working with contractors and just some of the most amazing people we've met growing their businesses, it was killing us, honestly, to see people spending so much money on software as a service and then not getting those promises out of that software. So we founded Powerhouse Consulting Group about 5 years ago, primarily at that time helping contractors with ServiceTitan, which is one of the premier field service management platforms out there. ServiceTitan's a really robust platform. There's a lot that goes into it, and you really have to invest time into it. And so what we've done is said, hey, allow us to help guide you. So we hire in experts on our team, and then contractors can tap into that, whether it's through training or implementation of different features, or just helping to troubleshoot and have somebody that they can go to be their point person. So we've been doing that now for a couple of years, been really successful. And we've expanded. We serve other platforms now and have just kind of expanded beyond that. So yeah, that's a little bit about us and what I've been doing.
Awesome. I love it. Definitely a need for what you're doing, being somebody that went from being in the industry to then owning a software company that serves the industry. And we do a lot of that, what you're talking about, in-house, because we recognize the need that, like, we're an industry that don't use software. And when you're getting software in businesses, you have to teach people how to use it. Like it's just a crazy thing. But I am excited to have this conversation today. I'm going to dive right in and ask the $1 million question. And that is, what makes a construction champion?
Yep. So the people that we see as being the most successful in our industry right now are folks that are taking a really strategic approach to their software investments. They're looking at software as a strategy, not as a tool, if that makes sense.
Mm.
And this is really similar to probably, I don't know, 10 to 15 years ago when marketing kind of went from being a tool to being a strategy, where you really need a strategy for marketing. And that is a new trend probably in the last 3 years that we're seeing is instead of using software as like a means to an end, like, oh, I need software to solve this problem, you need a software strategy for your business. But what we have seen happen is all of these really cool software tools come into the space. And there is a friggin' software for everything. There's, review tracking and management. There's AI call taking. There's inventory management. There's accounting integrations. There's all sorts of different tools out there. And every single one, all of these companies that are great companies, but they all claim they're going to solve all your problems or make life even easier. But what we see time and time again is contractors that keep purchasing and purchasing and purchasing new softwares. And there are so many of them for them to then manage. There's maybe crossover in functionality that you may not even realize that a tool you already have can do the feature of this other tool you've just bought onto. So you're really wasting a lot of money. You're wasting time investment. You've got inefficient workflows. You've got your team members bouncing between platforms. And what that all leads to is really poor ROI of that investment. So we see the most successful contractors, the ones that are really growing, are taking a technology first approach to their business and really being picky about what software to bring in and how it all works together.
Mm. Yeah, no, I would, I love that answer because that we are seeing a lot of success with companies that are looking at themselves as being software first, not software as an afterthought. And that fascinates me because it's still estimated that 45 to 60% of our industry uses no technology. Like
Oh my gosh.
it's amazing, but then you have the real forward thinkers that are thinking exactly what you're saying. It's like, how do we actually use this to be better instead of just using it to say we have technology, which I think has been what we've in the last 5 years. A lot of people started using technology because they just felt like they needed to have technology in their business, and they wanted to be able to say yes when somebody asked them, but they weren't really using it. And now we're starting to see where people feel like they're getting left behind if they're not using technology. The people that are using it and effectively using it are now looking at it like, how do we now make this a differentiator in our business? Because famously, private equity, that's what they do.
Yep.
So we should be able to do it just as business owners. We should be able to use that same uh, arbitrage there where we can take that technology and use it positive. And that's what excites me about what you guys do, because you guys help people do that. And it's so important.
Yep. Yeah. And there's no question that contractors that don't make the move to technology will get left behind. That is a fact. So much of the research we're seeing of not only homeowners, we're seeing more millennial homeowners right now, not only homeowners, but also business owners, they want that technology first approach in the businesses that they work with. And then even contractors themselves, the research we've been doing shows that 2/3 of contractors themselves think that digital transformation is going to be one of the most important pieces of their next 5-year plan, for their business. So making sure that you've got a technology plan in place is so important. Now, for the folks that really don't have any technology at all, I think what scares them is all of these platforms and all of these tools that are out there that have all of the bells and whistles. And really what is important is sort of right sizing, like the same way we would right size, HVAC to the right size of a house, et cetera. You don't want to oversize it. You don't want to undersize it. The same thing goes for software. But if you're just Google searching or using an AI tool to help you try to find what's the right software you need, you're going to come up with solutions that are not the right fit for you or not the right fit for where you're trying to go. So what we do at Powerhouse, our team has, evaluated all of these tools in the market and really picked out which of these tools is going to be the right size for which, of your goals. Because we have clients that are on amazing growth trajectories and, their goal is to take a $5 million business, grow it into a $20 million business and sell it. That's their goal. But then we have other clients that are a $5 million business and they want to stay a $5 million business. They just want to stay in business. And how do they sustain that? We have clients that want to pass down their business to their family, but understanding from a strategic standpoint, well, what are the pieces you need to put into place in order to make those goals a reality? That's where we come in, because we've done all that research for you and we can guide you on what's the right tools that you need to meet the goals that you have without, we call it kind of cutting through the noise, right? Because the moment you start searching for this, you're going to get a jillion targeted ads on all of your platforms, and you'll have all of this different noise coming in. So that's where, our team can really be helpful, is that we've done all that for you. We can come in and be your strategic partner in looking through all of those tools and making a recommendation on what's the best fit for you.
I love that. When you're talking with these companies, what are you finding are some of the concerns? Like, all listeners are probably sitting there like, oh no, the software pitch again. I need to digitize my business. I like my pad and pen. Like, what are some of those things that you hear, and how do you help walk them through that?
Yeah, there's a lot of concerns. Certainly, there's a lot of people that don't like change. I think I hate to say it, but I think that there's a lot of us in this industry that just really are like rooted in the way that we've always done things. Like, the way I've done it is successful. I've been successful. Why do I need to change it? And I think that is a huge mistake that people are making right now, because the world is changing. The world is digitizing, and those customers that you've been serving with that very successful plan are not going to be your customers anymore, right? So you've got to adapt. You have to adapt. And I think that's a really big sort of pushback that we see. Another thing that we see is the spend, right? Like, they don't want to, I get it. I'm a business owner, so I totally understand not wanting to spend any more money on anything else, right? So trying to understand the ROI, I think, is a difficult thing for folks to wrap their brain around if they haven't done that before. Thinking about, could this software, like you mentioned before, Ron, could this software actually make our team more efficient? Could we be booking more jobs? Could we be increasing the value of the invoices or the quotes that we're sending out? Could we be overall more productive and more efficient by investing money? It's sort of like a pay to play idea. I think that is something that's another piece of pushback. But overall, I think the biggest thing is just decision fatigue. There's just so much confusion of like, what's out there? What do I even need? Like, I think there's just a lot. There's a lot of great tools out there, and understanding what tools are trustworthy, which ones are reliable, which ones actually work. I think that's a huge gap in terms of the knowledge. Quite frankly, nobody has time to sort through all of that. And what ends up happening is you talk to a salesperson or somebody that you connect with, and, they sell you on the product, and it either works or doesn't work for you. And that's fine. But I really believe that the people that succeed are going to be the ones that take a really, executive mindset approach of what is the right tool for me right now. And I think that is where, our team at Powerhouse can really come in and help guide that conversation.
Yeah, and I think so. To me, it is so important. I've said it on here many times to all of our listeners, and if you're a new listener, this might be the first time you heard this, but putting technology in your business right now in the construct, like we are at an impasse where you have to do this because of the advancements in AI and what's happening. And everybody wants to use AI, but like you have to have a baseline and a foundation of data for it to even make sense. And like you need to start implement if you do not like you need to be using technology today to start collecting that data for 6, 12 months down the road to even be able to start to utilize the real power and potential of AI. And I think like people are trying to make the jump from nothing to, oh, we got to get everybody says we need AI, but what's AI? AI is nothing without data. Like,
Yep, exactly. And there's also this like perceived sense of like accomplishment or efficiency when it's not actually happening, right? So I, I love to ask people, they say, "Oh, well, this tool or this platform we're using, it's working great." And I'll say, "How do you know?" Like, what how are you measuring the success of that tool that you're using? And you can think of it the same way you think of anything. Like, how do you know a service that you're offering is successful? How do you know a tech that you have is a successful tech at sales? You have to put in sort of these measurements or understanding of performance to say this tool was worth it. This tool is working for us. This is how I know. And a lot of what we find is, well, listen, if you look at the tool and the tool tells you it's working, well, the kind of maybe there's a bias there because they want you to keep using that tool, right? So trying to take a bird's eye view and a holistic approach is really important to really understand whether the tools you have in place are actually working for you or if they're not, if the tool you've outgrown the tool, or if there might be a different tool that's a cost savings that might be a better fit for you. And I think that's a big piece that's missing.
awesome. So I have to ask, are you more of helping people implement technology into their business or more of auditing and helping them scale their technology?
Yeah, both.
Both. Okay.
Yep, yep. So we offer a service that's called Contractor Resource Planning, or CRP for short. So in our contractor resource planning service, what we do is we start with a discovery and we ask, what are your goals? What are you trying to do in your business? What's your short term? What's your long term plan? And help us understand the resources you have on your team as well as your budget for technology. What's really interesting is most contractors don't have a budget. All of their technology, it's all under different line items in their budget. So just a piece of homework for everyone. I would love for your listeners to head back and open up their budgeting tool, their QuickBooks or their Intact, whatever they've got, and try to look at all of the different software tools they have and start adding up the costs. And because 9 times out of 10, when we look at a contractor's budget, those line items are all in different places in the budget. Sometimes they're under an operations section. Sometimes they're under like an office tools or software tools section. Sometimes they're under web tools. Sometimes they're under marketing. Add it all up, like combine it and tell me, what that total is. That's something that we look at with our clients in the CRP discovery phase. That way we can look at ways to optimize that budget, cut that budget if we can, and really make the most of it. So from there, once we understand a contractor's goals, we will build a tailored solution of the different pieces of platforms and technology that are needed to help you meet those goals. Once we have what we call, a playbook, a tech stack playbook in place for one of our clients, then we can help with the implementation of that and help them adopt it and help with the workflows between those different platforms. And then we like to measure our results, right? We want to show you, hey, this worked, right? This change worked, and you are getting measurable results from that change to your overall tech stack. So We do both. We help with sort of the auditing of your existing tech stack, guiding you on what changes you should make to your technology platforms and your investments. And then we can help with the implementation side of that, including how all those tools sort of integrate together.
Hmm. I when you were saying that, all I can think about is all the different departments within a company, and like, I mean, you can have multiple of the same subscriptions to software because your production department and your sales department are both utilizing it, but no one's talking, and they have their own subscription for their own department. And I bet you find a lot of interesting things when you start diving into it that way.
Yep. Yeah, actually, I have a really funny story about that. In fact, I found for a company, they were paying a subscription, an annual fee for like a QR code generation tool. I mean, hundreds of dollars a year. And I said, who's using this? And it happened to be an employee that had left like years ago. But this line item had fallen, kind of just in this financial bucket of like nothingness, right? And nobody really had their eyes on it because again, all the technology's in different places. So pulling it all together in one place can help highlight issues exactly like what you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, more, yeah, yeah, I can just imagine like what
So
you
much
just said.
wasted
I mean, it
spend.
happens so often. Somebody's utilizing something and then they move on, but the company continues
Yep.
to not utilize it but pay for it.
Exactly. Yeah, you gotta find and get rid of that wasted spend. And, of course, for something like the example I came up with, like unless you're really doing some heavy marketing tracking, like there's free QR code generators out there and there's no need to pay for
I
that,
don't
right?
even remember the last time I paid for the QR code. But I mean,
Exactly.
Canva would do it for free. And I keep forgetting how to do it, but I know you can do it in Google.
Yeah.
Somebody showed me that at one point in time, and then I forgot how to do it. So, but yeah, that seems like the most craziest thing to be spending hundreds of dollars on a year. But I'm sure there's other crazy stuff if people would really dive into their spend
Oh
on
yeah.
stuff because I mean, even a lot of stuff when it's just 9, 10, $20 a month, like that stuff just falls into, like you said, nothingness. If you're not categorizing any of this, it's just literally there.
Yep. And what we're talking about here is like small potatoes. When we start talking about the big potatoes, but like we're talking about you're spending thousands of dollars on a software fee monthly, and then you're paying another thousands of dollars for some other software platform that maybe does what software one already does, but you're not aware. If you're not aware of what all of these tools can do, then you're really doing this duplicative spending and you don't even know it. And you're literally just putting money down the drain. So yeah, we're on a mission to help contractors figure that out and save their monies and get the ROI.
No, I love that because this is something that is I just don't think talked about enough. And
Yeah.
so, like I said, one of the we roared a lot of this out in house just because of feedback from our users was like they just need a lot of hand holding, and it was like, how do we do that? Like, I'm not your typical software company, being that I came from the construction industry and I serve the construction industry. I don't serve investors. I don't serve board. I serve the construction industry. So it was like, how do we fix this? Because like I can't spend hours a week on cars helping people implement software into their business. And then, but once it happens, they all of a sudden get it. And so we just made it part of our business model in order to be able to help people. And I just like it. So I really value what you're doing because to me, it's the biggest barrier to entry is that people are intimidated by something that's really not intimidating. They just don't understand it and they're scared. But as soon as you walk them through that and take that fear away, it opens up a whole nother world for them.
Yeah, and that's exactly why hiring an expert can make a lot of sense. because
100%.
you're bringing in somebody that has all that knowledge and, putting your trust in them. It's no different than, hiring in, somebody to take a look at like your personal finances. Like, if you don't feel comfortable with that, it's like, bring in an expert, bring in somebody that has all that knowledge and tap into that. It really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, which all my listeners here, you all know I am a firm believer in bringing in experts to help you do what you don't understand. Like, we're not always in a position where you can just go hire somebody to do all of this, but you can go find an expert. And like I say, experts bring a lot more knowledge than a single hire. And I think a lot of times people should start with an outsourced expert that brings in a more global knowledge set than technically making the first hire should be second to bringing in the expert. That's my whatever opinion on this. People can disagree with it, but I just think people that understand what they do and do it for a lot of different people have a knowledge base that you cannot hire for. And it becomes very interesting on how I think some of that stuff should work out. And I'm sure you as well. Like, you understand stuff a lot differently than most people would. And that is very valuable. And that is why we should always be looking for that.
Yeah, you nailed it completely. When you hire in a consultant for really anything, you're getting the value not just of their knowledge, but also their experience. Like, for example, on the Service Titan side of our business, when we consult and help our clients with all of their Service Titan issues that they have, with like, this is not our first rodeo. Like, we have helped 400 plus contractors navigate these issues. We've seen it all. We've seen all different trades. We've seen all different sizes of company. We've seen all different, mixes of business. We've seen all different workflows and quite a lot of really different and unique workflows to how contractors go to business. So when you hire an expert like Powerhouse Consulting Group, you're benefiting from all of those different contractors and all of those different workflows that we've seen. Like, we have a very deep level of experience in the industry. And you're, like you said, you can't really hire for that. You can find somebody that's maybe done it once or twice, but you're not going to find a single person who's done this 400 plus times like we have.
Absolutely. So I have to ask, you're tuned into this word. Where do you see us in 5 years with technology in the construction space?
Well, things are really going to change. And like we've already talked about, I think the folks, it's one of those things like get on board or get left behind. You've really got to start today. Start yesterday, actually.
Yeah.
If you haven't started with just some small ways of digitizing your business and moving to a technology first approach. Something that we think about a lot at Powerhouse is, again, the contractors that are successful aren't just using tools and then, these tools produce, fantastic data points, like really pretty reports and graphs, and it's colorful and it's nice to look at. But taking that information and using it to make your business better, to grow your business, to scale your business, to meet your goals, that is a piece of business strategy and management that has not yet been fully tapped by most contractors in the business. Over the next 5 years, I see that there's going to be a major shift where more business owners are going to get more business savvy on these types of things. And so part of using tools today is like, kind of data mining your own business, right? 5 years from now, just think 5 years from now, what if you had the last 5 years of data to tap into and really look at and make strategic decisions based on? Like, that's what we coach our clients on. We want you to have good, clean data to make good decisions, to move your business forward and move the needle and help you grow and help you meet your goals. I think that over the next 5 years, we're just going to see more and more of that in terms of contractors who've made the switch will have the power of all of that data. And those who don't have that will be, trying to keep their head above water. So I think that is going to be a big switch. It's already happening. It's been happening. It's just going to continue to move in that direction.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. That's why I stress so much on here that you need to get started. Like whatever it is, like figure it out and get started because it's going to become harder and harder to be able to compete and do anything without having that data that you're talking about. And that's
Yeah.
just what it is. Like that's just the facts.
I
There's
mean,
no,
like a really simple place to start would just be like, what's your average ticket, or what's your conversion rate, or what's your, what price point is working, and have you tried to push that price point one direction or another and see how that changes your conversion rates?
hmm.
If you don't even have that little bit of data, I think that would be a really good place to start. Just track it for a week, even if you're tracking on paper. Just track it so that you can get a sense, so that you can start making data-based decisions, not anecdotal decisions. Like a lot of contractors will say, "Oh, well, I just know." I'm like, well, but like, how do you know? Like, you think you know, but you give me the data to prove it to me, and that will make your business better.
Well, yeah, I like to say we always use the I feel way to make decisions. Like, and I've never been a fan of that. Like, that don't fly for me. I don't want to feel because, or I don't want you to feel because those are very partial. Like, that's your bias is on however you feel. And I don't run a business off of bias or how somebody feels. I run a business off of the actual data. And like, that's how you start making educated decisions. And we used to go on leadership meetings and it wasn't like, I don't want to see what you feel is happening. I want to see the numbers.
Right.
And I want you to explain to me exactly what is happening with the numbers, not what you feel is happening. And then we can make educated decisions based off of that. But you have to be willing to collect that data and hold people accountable to it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I totally agree. There's a lot of people that say, I want to run my business, I've got a great gut instinct. And I'm like, that's amazing. Good for you, because not everybody has that. But in your business, you will be making decisions. And are they going to be emotionally driven decisions, or will they be informed decisions?
Mm.
You can still use your gut and be informed, right? Like you will have to make decisions. You can't do everything. You're going to have to make decisions, but make sure they're informed decisions, and then use your gut instinct to layer on top of that.
Well, yeah, and I'll challenge everybody when we talk about going through the numbers and figuring out, like this piece of the whatever, all of that is once you start getting this data in and you can dive down into it and to what Pam's saying, like when you have 5 years of data, it was one of the most powerful things in being able to go, but you will find, you think your spend on software is insane. Wait until you have 5 years of data and you can start drilling down into actual things and you start figuring like we got to the point where we could tell what crew was more profitable doing what in order to be able to say, oh, well, you're only going to do this now. And like you start to be able to change stuff in your business that you would never think of unless you just dive into that data. And that's the thing that AI is going to change because I used to manually have to do this. Like it would be manually reports, print all this stuff out. Where are the trends? What is going on? And now I can get that information in seconds. And that is why we need to move. Everybody needs to move to a point where they have these data sets.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, there's technology out there that exists today that will automatically dispatch the right technician to the right job that will be the most profitable for your business.
Mhm.
And that is an absolute game changer. And that technology has existed, but as I mentioned, what ends up happening is, one tool of yours has that functionality, but then you get a Facebook ad or a TikTok, promo thing about some other tool that has that same technology. And yeah, it can be a lot. So yeah, just a matter of choosing the right tools.
Awesome. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation today. For all the listeners, if they wanted to connect with you, follow you, learn more about what you do, where's the best places for them to do that?
Yeah, head to our website. Our website is mypowerhouse.group. Or, you can find us on any of the social media platforms, Powerhouse Consulting Group, that's us, or reach out to us via email, hello@mypowerhouse.group.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking the time and being on the show today, Pam.
All right, thanks, Ron. This was awesome. I really appreciate the conversation, and I look forward to catching up with you sometime soon.
Awesome. Absolutely. All right, construction champions, another episode in the bag. Where once again, yeah, you might not understand it. You might be tired of me narrowing it home, but data is going to win in this evolution of where software is going. And like I said, we used to manually do so much. We had software and we relied heavily on it. It was spent a lot of time getting the data right in there, so we had the appropriate data to make decisions, but manually having to do it, and everything is changing. And if you're not taking the time to implement something and figure it out and start to, I love when Pam said, just write it down. If you just start tracking it somewhere, so you have this information, because you can't make decisions for your business off. I mean, I relate. I feel like I have great gut instincts, but for some reason, I've just never been able to just let that completely control business decisions when we can have the data, when we can have the numbers. Like, imagine this. If you knew exactly how much every customer cost that came into your business and what they were worth, like, this is the kind of stuff that you can figure out what channel, like, it opens up your doors to either continue to do what you said. Like Pam said, if you want to be $5 million, continue on with that and continue to be profitable. Software allows you to do that. If you want to grow to 20 million, or we had a guest on here that $28 million a year roofing company with 3 employees and software and automations that they had built. Took them 18 months to build it all. But like, think about it. The time is now. It's 2025. And we're over halfway through it. You need to start looking into doing something with software or a pad and a pen. I love that. Like, just start tracking everything. Create some kind of record. So you have it and you're not making emotional decisions and you're not making biased decisions. You're actually making decisions that benefit your business, your employees, your family, your life. You're not just making them off of just what you think or what somebody feels. So construction champions, until next time, be the champion you were meant to be.